What's up, guys? Every time I show my AI film to anyone in the industry, they freeze. First, they say, AI's come a long way. Then they look at me and say, have you shown this to anyone else? Then they say, what's going to happen to Hollywood? And that's because I've been able to, for the most part, keep character consistency, keep location consistency, and cut it like a real film. And today, and in this video series, I'm going to show you how I did that, all on YouTube, all for free. Stick with me and you're going to see. My name is Mukesh. I've worked at Universal Pictures in an Apple MGM writer's room. I've sold a script, I've sold a pitch, and for better or worse, I am a story addict. I have no choice. I must tell stories. And Hollywood was just moving too slow. Kidding, sort of. Hollywood is its own beast. But when these AI tools came out, I just had to learn them. And I made something I think is special. You'll be the judge, but I'm going to show you how I did it. Even in the old days, when I was shooting all my short films, and I've made like 15, 2 or Oscar qualifiers, all of those short films, you always wrote to limitations. And that's what I do with AI. I write to limitations. So I'm going to go to the drawing board. Step 1, story. Now, the first part is the story, arguably the most important part. I always write to my limitations. Nobody has infinite money to spend on a film. So you're always going to have some kind of blocker. You want that car to explode? Sorry, you can't afford it. So if you want to make something, you got to write in the confines of the space.
This is year 22, day 212.
So I dug through all my stories and I found one that I thought could work, but I tweaked it. First thing I did was, I set the character up so that he has memory problems. We're not sure if his memory is real, if it's fake. We're not sure if anything he's seeing is real or fake, even the people. And so if they come across as uncanny or fake, are they real? Is it his memory? Is it the machine, since the machine reset his memory? We're not sure. Second thing is the spaceship itself. Now, he doesn't know. Is that the hallway moving? Is it his mind changing it? Any anomaly in AI could just be attributed to that. So that way, the audience gets lost in the story. Okay, part 3, the part you're all here for, obviously. How the heck did I make this thing? Here's what you got to realize. Let's zoom out for a second and think about filmmaking. Everybody knows you write the story and you make a shot list. So we'll start with the shot list. How do you do that with AI? You use keyframes. And what is a keyframe in AI? You start with an image and you animate that image. This is something that I made up called keyframing. Not exactly sure what other people are calling it, but the concept is basically very simple. You take an image generated wherever or even photographed, you animate that image as your first shot. So for example, man walks and sits down at computer station. First shot is the computer station. The man walks into the frame. This is probably the prompt, and sits down at the computer station. You can see it in the middle of the animation. Second shot, man looks at the screen and, it's a close-up of the screen. And the animation is woman appears with green lines on screen. You get the idea, and you will continue to make shots like this. And in order to expand on that, you can use something that I call stitching. Now, stitching is just an advanced version of keyframing. It's not that different. In stitching, you're still using keyframes, you're just connecting them together. So for example, in this case, we have a start frame of the universe. And in the start frame, we do a start frame and an end frame. So it's 2 keyframes creating a whole shot. So you go from start frame to end frame. The start frame was the universe, the end frame is the spaceship. The animation is the prompt. So it animates from a zoom in through the stars and land with a slow dolly onto the spaceship. That end frame becomes the start frame of the next shot. In particular, if you're making a oneer, you can make really cool oneers. You can do any other shot if you want to, but if you want to connect them together to make a longer shot, more than 7 or 10 seconds or whatever the limitations are of the AI you're using, you use stitching with keyframes. So that final shot becomes the start frame of the next shot. And then you animate that to a new end frame. We'll call this end frame 2. The animation goes from that spaceship to the window on the right side of that spaceship. And you animate, dollies in, same thing. You use that final shot of that last shot, the final frame, and you get a new frame. Now, in this case, I actually shot the footage. So I had a first frame of me. You could, if you want, use any other first frame. You don't have to. But I used me. So I'm going from this AI footage to the first frame, which is me, and it zooms right into that first frame of me. And then I play my regular footage. If you had an AI image, you could go from one AI image and set that second AI image as the new end frame, animate it, and you could continue. That is called stitching. And that is really key in connecting different AI shots as you go through your shot list. If you're organized, not many of us are, but if you are, you can create a shot list like this, where you understand each point in the story, which is very important, and you can also match it up with an image. And as you do that, you'll understand exactly what you need to prompt. But more importantly, you can start to get a sense of if this story is working. This is the critical part. Look at every storyboard beat. Is it working? Does the image match? What are you trying to say? Is there scene tension? Does the scene have a beginning, middle, and end? These are all old school things from filmmaking. This is the part where you include that in the new AI filmmaking. Once you create the shot list, you'll know exactly the shots you need, and then you're going to start creating them. But one more thing I want to show you that is critical. If you're not going to shoot footage and you're just going to generate a movie, you have to use this final thing to make sure the movie looks right. And I'd be remiss if I didn't go over the final piece of magic sauce, the special secret. Everybody knows this. It's called elements in Kling. I think Higgsfield calls it something else. You have to create every character with a very specific set of elements. For the people, you need head-on full body, head-on close-up, 3/4, and back. If you can get more images in there, for example, Higgsfield lets you put more images in, put them in, because it's going to use that as a training model. You can build your own in Comfy UI. You can also do it in some other softwares. You got to use that because it will pinpoint your character. And without a consistent character, you're going to lose your audience. Second part of that, same thing with locations. You can create all the different angles of locations, keep the lighting consistent, keep the look consistent. You can literally build the other walls, the reverse angles. Make sure you do everything and go to the nth level of detail here. Both types of images should be high resolution. The people should look like people, and the locations should look like real locations. And once you have those elements locked in, when you animate those in the keyframes, you can tag those elements and it will pull in the exact images and use those references to make sure everything matches every time. I understand. It's frustrating. It gets crazy. Sometimes it doesn't work. But the more you use of these techniques, you're narrowing down your final output to what you want. May not be perfect, but it's going to get closer and closer. And that's it. That's sort of the high level idea of how I make these videos. You start with keyframes, a start frame and an end frame, and you animate them together. And you make sure you use the elements feature, which you've pre-saved characters and locations so that you can maintain consistency across all your shots. Not so crazy. Stick with me on this journey and I'm going to show you all the different tips and tricks when I get into the nitty gritty. And I'll show you exactly how I made this film. I really hope you'll follow me. I love this movie and I really want you to watch it. I cannot wait to share it with you. And all this is free, so follow along. Thanks.